You were talking about money, right?
Separate yourself widely from the pack moving forward. Is that something that you would be willing to have a discussion about?
Because they didn't get it.
They
were
probably
like,
didn't get it. Yeah.
To follow up with your clients, to generate more leads. You know what I mean?
Always check to make sure you're recording.
The record.
Yeah.
The clap, and I need to start over and all that jazz.
Oh, Lord.
Yep.
We're going 5, 4, 3.
Welcome back to another episode of Key Factors Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Jones, and this is sponsored by ReviewMyMortgage.com, the largest index of mortgage programs nationally. And today I've got an impromptu guest that I've known my entire career. He has been an inspiration and also a team member in our process in the mortgage. Kind of can't do a deal without him. It is Nefi Miramontes with, and you're now...
President of Envision Title.
Oh, that sounds good. That sounds real good. So Nefi, how you doing, man?
Man, I genuinely just came over here to give you a hug, bro.
I know. And look what happened.
How am I? I'm blessed.
Blessed is good.
I'm blessed.
Blessed is good. And I don't know if you want to talk about your transition or anything like that, but before we get into that, because we have short period of time, I wanted to give our listeners a little bit of nuggets in regards to title. We talk about mortgage, we talk about real estate, we talk about entrepreneurship, we talk about motivation, we talk about many things on this show. But I think title is something that's missed. And if you would like, can you articulate what does a title company do these days? Especially for new to the business agents that tune into this show.
I'll start from the beginning. So I got into the business in 2005 in Utah.
Okay.
Started as a landman title examiner. Coming to Texas in 2010, there was a quick lesson that I learned that it's just, everything's different in Texas, right? Everything's bigger, everything's different. Coming here, the best way, that I can explain it to anyone that is purchasing, selling, really anything that's real estate related, you want a title policy. I can't tell you how many times someone has bought a property at the courthouse, received it as a airship. There's consequences. If you're trying to do something, you want to do it right the first time. You don't want to create more work for yourself, more
Absolutely.
headaches, more costs, more time. I have a lot of examples of where we've had to do a lot of cleanup. I work pretty much any type of deal that you can imagine. I can honestly tell you I probably have closed it.
Sure.
So it really is, title insurance is ensuring you as the purchaser or you as the lender that you have clear title, that the only thing you're going to be subject to, of course, Texas, oil and gas, you're always going to be subject to that, unless the client owns the mineral rights.
Right. And
taxes,
those there
taxes.
are the nuances to a home purchase, a commercial purchase, land purchase that I think we as consumers don't even think is something special that we need to focus on or worry about. And I can imagine not having a title policy. What would that be like? Let's just take us through just briefly. If I bought a house, because a title policy, I don't think is mandatory. Like you can do it without it, but good luck trying to get somebody to lend on it.
Correct.
Yeah. And if I was paying cash, what would happen if something, let's say a lien was on there that I didn't know about? What does that look like?
Yeah. So I'll give you, a few examples come to mind. I'll be honest, there's an escrow loss, like, title and escrow, title insurance, the title policy, there's two separate pieces to it. Escrow losses, and we actually touched on it earlier. Escrow losses would be if we as the escrow company forgot to pay a survey, it's our responsibility.
Okay.
That's an escrow loss. Like we cover that.
Mm-hmm.
The title is bigger. So
okay.
The first one that comes to mind, I think it was I learned this, I think it was 08, 09. There was an individual that had purchased a piece of property that sat behind another piece of property. And there was a road that, they had access through that strip of land.
Sure.
So here's your house, behind it, I bought the one behind it, and I had access through your property by that strip of land.
Okay.
So what ended up happening is somehow, I think it was the seller of the piece of my property that is behind your property. I wanted to sell it. I didn't have a legal right of way. It was never filed properly. All of the steps weren't taken. It wasn't perfected. And so legally, I don't have access to my property. And so,
and that's all about like a chain of ownership. It started back in the 1918 whatever, and then it got sold and passed on, and there's a chain of ownership that then I guess you have to verify that the
you have
previous
to provide
person,
the evidence.
Right. There
Right.
you go.
Yeah. So what ended up happening on this one was you as the owner of the property that I have to cross through, you do not want to give me an easement, because usually it is as simple as that. I go to you and I say, hey, Mark, I want to buy 10 feet over here. And Mark, you just say, yeah, I'll sell it to you.
Mm-hmm.
This guy was smart. He's like, I'm not selling you anything. And you no longer have the right to access your property. So the title company at that time purchased the house. So, I didn't sell it, but they paid me, what I was due, what the market, and the title company, I think the title company owned that property. I'm not making this up. I think it was for over a decade.
Yeah.
That was their property.
Wow.
And what ended up happening was me as the title examiner, whoever examined the property, didn't do their job.
Huh.
Because that really is it.
And
like,
that
is as simple as it gets. And me learning that so early into my career, I really was like, okay, we really do make a difference. Like,
yeah.
It is a product that is, that
it's
is going to help you.
Absolutely. Gives you the peace of mind, the assurance, and really the ability to rest easy that your money, because most property, whether it be land, home, commercial, residential, is expensive.
Right.
It would really suck buying a property and finding out that somebody else had something that was tied to that property that can now take over the ownership or take over stake in that property unless X, Y, and Z is paid or taken care of.
Correct.
What a nightmare that could be.
Yeah. And that's just one example. Like that's the first one that comes to mind, and because it was big. Like I was like, really? Like that's
and I know I get the question from newer agents. I do a lot of coaching with new realtors to the industry, and their question is always, what does title do? What do they do? And I would tell them before TRID happened, they actually did a whole lot. I mean, they really did a whole lot. And now these days, they ensure that property doesn't have any issues with it, so you can rest and assure. Now, am I explaining that right when I do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think if anybody goes through buying a car, goes through buying any kind of valuable possession, you want to know that it's yours.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing the Carfax, that's
you do the
example.
you do the same thing when you buy a car. You do. I mean, gosh, I can even say people Google reviews on places that they're going to eat. It's the same concept, but on a much bigger scale.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So, if you feel comfortable about it, let's talk about your transition. I'm excited, man. That's awesome.
I'm so excited. Like I can't. I haven't really had the opportunity to share it, which is really.
And this, I will tell you, this is not going to air for another 2 weeks.
Okay.
So you've got time.
There was a serendipitous moment.
I love that word, by the way. I love that movie. Just don't tell anybody.
I love that movie too. We had flown to Vegas for Stephanie's birthday. It was like my first gift to her this year. And I ran into good friends of mine. And it just sparked something. When you're like, if I mean, I know you know me, but anyone that knows me, you either like me or you don't.
Sure.
If it's business, title related, I mean, if you don't like me, I'm sorry. You must be doing something wrong.
I think there's very, very few people in this world that dislike you. And sometimes they hate you because they ain't you.
That's but in my personal world, I really do believe that, you know, we're all connected as humans, and there's circumstances that occur and happen, and, you know, you either choose to embrace them or you choose not to.
Yeah.
So backtrack to, I think it was April. You know, this occurrence happened, and then a couple weeks after that, they reached out and said, hey, we would really like you to visit with us. We think that you can create a lot of value. And for someone to come, you know, I mean, I've had opportunities elsewhere, and I haven't taken them. I care about individuals that I work with. I genuinely care.
100%. I mean, that is, and those of you listening, watching this, I've worked with Nefi for many years now, and there hasn't been another title company that I've trusted other than Nefi and his team. And as a testament, there's a reason why that is. Those of you out there do know that I'm about doing business the right way and for the future, for prosperity, and I align myself with partners that think the same way. So go ahead.
Yeah. So it was a challenging decision. It really was. I mean, you can ask Steph. And, you know, circumstances was like, hey, this is the right thing to do. And I can honestly tell you, it is not a selfish. It's actually the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that I can really make a change in our industry.
Yeah.
Because I think outside the box. Like I
Nefi,
think,
I'll even go further, brother. You don't think outside of the box. You do what I consider building a bigger box to think in.
there you go. Yeah.
Okay? And I bring this up. Gosh, I guess I don't get enough opportunity to bring this concept up. But a lot of people will say, think outside of the box on this. And you're like, well, okay, I mean, think outside of the box. But when you're outside of the box, you're lost. You don't know what the heck you're doing because that's not your box. It's not your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Why don't you work on building that box to a bigger box to think in?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I
That's
like
true.
thinking about it.
And you know, for the longest time, you know, I've worked with direct operations, and nothing against the operations I've worked with. I learned a lot. I had a lot of opportunity. A lot of opportunity was given to me. A lot of autonomy was given to me, which is one of the, you know, challenges that I had to embrace. But right now, like, I am the decision maker, and this is the only seat I have not been in. I've been in every other title seat that you can think of. I've experienced, I've, you know, created, you know, value, and, you know, I'm excited.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Like, you can ask Stephanie, like, I have not been this excited for a really long time.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even remember. I think I said 6 years or so.
Yeah.
And once we're able to, you know, put the pieces together, I mean, nothing's ever perfect.
Nothing.
But I can, and you know me, so I can guarantee you that I will do everything in my power, which now I really do have the ability to make a lot of the decisions that I wasn't able to make elsewhere.
Yeah.
To have that, I mean, that's a game changer.
100%. And I also believe that it's similar to the last discussion I had with AJ Regatas. He owns First Choice Realty. And it just happened yesterday. And we were talking about risk and taking risks, and folks that don't take risks end up regretting.
Yeah.
And in addition to the people that have taken risks, they can't really look up and say, oh, I woke up and this is where I am. No, man, you've got scars. You've got scars from all of the paths that you've gone down and failed and then didn't stop and learn from and continued. So this is kind of a culmination of all your hard work, you kicking ass, truly the spheres of influences that you originated with and now have grown. And who doesn't know Nefi Miramontes? Like, you get what I mean?
I love how you pronounce it.
I mean, what the is it? Am I pronouncing it wrong?
No,
Okay.
I love it.
Puedo hablar español si quieres. No.
Es otro episodio. I'm excited, and the number one reason I'm excited is I care about our industry. I care about the individuals that do put in the work every day, all day, and I care about any individual, a broker, a realtor, that chooses to support us, I will, and I have always done, my very best to create value and, to help you be better.
Yeah.
And that's really it. And that's how I look at every circumstance that I come into.
Let's talk about value for a second, because we've mentioned that a couple of times, and it seems to be a common theme on every episode I've had since day one, even when I had Millennial Market Talk and we were just entrepreneurs having discussions. That's something that I believe is starting to rise much more than money. And what I mean by that is, in our industry, whether you're participating in it or not, it's happening. People are paying for other people's business. And that, to me, is a means to an end, not a growth strategy.
I see what you mean.
To where if you can provide somebody with value, it's you know what, layman terms, everybody's already heard of it, so I'm going to repeat it. If you give a man a fish, he'll eat for the night, right? But if you teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. And I believe that our industry needs a really good cleaning to revamp, to know that value is what we should be resting our laurels and lies and everything else on, not this short-term monetary benefit that you see to pay this bill this month.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
100%.
Yeah. So that being said, what type of value do you see in the new company that you're going with? And if you don't mind, what's the name of the company?
Envision Title.
Envision Title. I like that. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. I mean, how long have they been in business? Tell us about them.
Yeah. So, I mean, they've been in business a few years.
Okay.
I'm coming in, they've had challenges.
Sure.
And I've quickly recognized where the challenges, were. That's why they brought me in. But I can honestly tell you that every individual, and it's small, it's intimate, but every individual that I've spoken to cares, and not just like, they're not looking at it as a job, like they care.
Yeah, they've bought in.
And that's rare, so I can work with that all day long.
Yeah.
In regards to, what value, when I said earlier that like it will be a game changer,
yeah,
like that is the challenge that I've given myself.
Sure.
I want to change a lot, because for me, in everything that I've experienced is, that monetary piece, that's important. That's how we live.
Sure.
That's how we provide for our families. My driving force has been my family since I was 17. But I can tell you that financial piece will be there regardless of what you do. This is what I believe in. That financial piece will be there when you selflessly care about creating growth, happiness, joy in others.
100%.
Organically,
yeah,
the world will bring it to you, but it's very difficult in the culture and the world that we live in. But if you can recognize that and care enough to work, and work it.
And to piggyback on that, I would say that those types of traits that you just mentioned will withstand the testament of time against the other philosophy of
Yeah.
And
yeah, I mean, believe me, I mean, that was one of the first things that I've heard from, pretty much anyone that didn't want me to make this move.
Right.
Like, well, why are you making the move right now? Like, we're about to dip.
Right.
And I'm like, I moved to Texas for a reason.
Mm-hmm. You mean it wasn't for the country music and food?
dude, my closest relatives are in El Paso. I came here with like literally just Stephanie and the boys. But we will withstand it.
Yeah.
And we'll be okay. And not just okay, like we will make a change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like that. I really like that. And there has never been a time, and you've only done this once before, and it was going from, actually, no, it was Capital to Alamo, right? And there was no skip and beat in what you were doing. are you in a different role?
So, I mean, for the last 4 years,
Yeah.
for the last 4 years, I mean, and they've been the most successful 4 years,
Sure.
that I've ever had. In what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be taking on more responsibilities. I still have a team that's going to be doing, residential. I'm still taking lead as commercial.
Mhm.
That's what I've been doing for 4 years. That's what I enjoy. I mean, I'm a chameleon, so hey,
Amen
Nefi,
to
do
that.
this.
Yep.
I'll jump in. But I really am kind of an introvert. Like you wouldn't, if you don't know me, you wouldn't,
Yeah.
But I really am.
And it's funny that you say that because a lot of folks think I'm an extrovert as well.
I know you too. Yeah.
I'm an introvert,
Yeah.
believe it or not. I
Yeah.
like to be behind the scenes, doing what I do.
Yep.
If I have to, by all means, I'm not going to shy away from people.
For
I've
sure.
already gone through the motions of building my self-confidence and things of that nature, but I would much rather just be on my own, doing my thing.
Yeah, and so for the last, pretty much the last 4 years, I've been doing my own thing. In the shadows. Like I said, like it's been great. It's been great. Very, very blessed. But so in this role, I'm stepping in as president. Director of operations. I'll be honest. Like, I was even telling my partner, I was like, I really don't need a label. Like, I just want to make this work. Like, you don't need to give me anything. And she's like, yeah, but it needs to be, like that's just the business we're in.
That's how HR has to pay you, by the way.
Yeah. But really, you can still call me regardless of where it is, where, what time. Like, that I got you. Like, if
Absolutely.
it's title, like, hey, call Neff. Like that doesn't change. What does change is the role that I'm stepping into is, like I said earlier, I now have the opportunity and the ability, because this isn't corporate.
Yeah.
Like, this is mine.
This is you.
This is mine, and this will be a reflection of what we create.
Absolutely.
So it really is, man.
So you saying that, for me, it's super cool, and I'm not gonna cry on this thing, but
if you even tear up a little bit,
you're
will
coming
cry.
with me.
I will cry.
You're coming
dude.
with me. That's right.
Yeah.
So what I've learned, or what I'm going through in the past 11 years for me, is at this point in time, I'm seeing all of the people that made a difference in the mortgage real estate industry in the past 11 years now become elevated to the position or given the opportunities that they've worked their ass off for, including myself.
Yeah.
So I think that you sharing this news with me today is giving me it's giving me all the confidence in the world to do what I need to do next.
Got chills, bro.
Yeah.
And you know me, so
I'm telling
I'm
you,
serious,
there's something
man.
that's coming, and it's pretty big, and I haven't told the soul.
There you go, bro.
and
I've been with you in those moments every time.
We may need to push the airing of this episode back a little bit now.
Okay.
Damn.
I got you, man.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm in a position in my life that I will be able to, I got you.
Guys, I'm going to wrap this show up. I think that you guys hopefully caught a couple of little nuggets out of this. Normally our shows are a little bit longer and a little bit more structured, but every once in a while you got to shoot from the hip. And that will be our message for the episode. Every once in a while you have to improvise. You've got to shoot from the hip. You've got to go with the flow. And you've got to capitalize on the opportunities that are presented to you. Nefi, I want to thank you for jumping in here, totally blindsided by me, of course, as usual.
Thank you, man. And I wouldn't do it for anyone else, dude. I love you. I'm proud of you. Like, I know you know. Like,
I love you too, Nefi. And guys out there, gals out there, if you want to drop one more, Envision Title, San Antonio. That's where it's at.
It will change the game.
Absolutely. And Envision, maybe, who knows? It could be the next biggest thing.
That's it.
Thanks for listening, guys. You guys make sure you're crushing it.
Now you got me all fucking excited, bro.
Oh man.
Now I'm like, Hollywood.